The government released its monthly report on inflation this morning, known as the Consumer Price Index. CBS News business analyst Jill Schlesinger is here to break down the numbers. And Jill, you're talking about it being boring this time around.
Kind of boring, and boring is beautiful when it comes to the economy. The inflation rate, it accelerated just slightly in May from April, not a big number. And that means that the inflation rate for the last 12 months came in at 2.4%. So prices increased by 2.4% from a year earlier. That's up just 0.1% from the previous month. So again, nothing big here. The core rate, that's the one that removes food and energy, up 2.8% from a year ago. Core prices have actually remained pretty stable. We've seen energy prices come down over the year, food prices rise, shelter prices kind of moderating some. So it's a very benign report, this current report.
And with tariffs remaining at lower levels since the initial announcement, what's the overall feeling about prices?
You know, it's funny, the Federal Reserve loves this survey. It's the survey of consumer expectations. They say, how you feeling about the job and the economy? And they ask very specific questions about inflation and the inflation rate. And the response this time was a little less of, I fear inflation. That would be the through line here. So regardless of age, education, or income, people feel like inflation is going to rise over the next 1 year or 3 years or 5 years, but not as bad as they thought it would when we had that first announcement from the Rose Garden on April 2nd. So I think people are kind of getting used to the fact that prices will go up, but then they will probably not see a big surge in inflation like the summer of 2022.
Okay. And Jill, given where we are right now with tariffs, what does the whole picture look like in terms of inflation for the rest of the year?
Well, let's presume that we have a universal 10% tariff on all of our trading partners and something like 30% for China, and that's maintained for the whole year. If that's the case, the expectation is that that core inflation rate, the one that I said has been kind of boring for the last few months at 2.8%, it'll probably rise closer to 3.5% by the end of the year. And, you know, listen, energy prices are very tough to predict, but food prices, according to the USDA, not expected to rise by that much, increase by maybe 2.9% this year. And that's the historic average rate of growth for food. So I think that we should prepare for somewhat higher prices, not so big surge overall, but if you're going to buy an item that is subject to a tariff, you're going to pay a higher price.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Jill. And remember, you can see Jill regularly on CBS Mornings and the CBS Evening News.